Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 9 and 10 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Padmaraga Shiladarsha Paribhavikapolabuhu Navavidruma Bimbashri Nyakkareeradanachada Shuddha Vidyankurakara Dvijapankti Dvayojwala Karpura Viti Kamoda Samakarshad Digantara. From Shloka 4 onwards, we've been looking at the description of Lalita, how she looks physically. And as we have discussed before, the idea of describing Lalita is that when we chant the Sahasranama, we are supposed to imagine that Lalita, who looks like this, is sitting in front of us, and that way we are able to put our mind towards her, and we are able to sync with her and that meditation, and we can reap the benefits of the Sahasranama. So that is the idea. And as human beings, for us, anything, if it has to stay in our mind, first it has to get through our senses and through our eyes, and this allows us to give a physical form to an abstract concept called God. So we are able to slowly travel this path and get to a point where we recognize our oneness with the ultimate reality and recognize that divine residing in our hearts. So that's why this is all being described. So these two shlokas describe her cheeks, lips, and teeth. So let's look at the meaning. Padmaraga Shiladarsha Paribhavi Kapolabuhu. Padmaragam is a type of ruby. It's red in color and it's rare and beautiful. Shila means stone. Darsha means appearance. Paribhavi means mocking or ridiculing or suffering disrespect. Kapolabuhu means cheeks. So this line means that Lalita's cheeks are mocking the appearance of a ruby, which means her cheeks are shining so much that a ruby stone cannot stand in front of that. And as you all can remember from the previous verse, she's wearing the sun and moon as earrings. So if the sun and moon is this close, obviously her cheek is going to be shining. And we all know Lalita is red, right? So she is Sindura Aruna. See, she is Sarva Aruna. So she's red completely, and therefore the shine of her, the red cheeks with the shine from the sun and the moon far excel what a ruby stone can offer. So her cheeks are shining so much and so red that a ruby cannot stand in front of it or cannot surpass that. Nava Vidruma Bimbashri Nyakkari Radanachada. So Vidruma is a coral, Pavalam as it is called in Tamil. So Nava Vidruma, newly formed coral. Nyakkari Radanachada. Nyakkari means insulting. Radanachada means lips. So Lalita's lips are insulting a newly formed coral stone. Bimbashri. In this context, Bimba can be interpreted in two ways. Bimbam is an image, a common interpretation in many languages. Bimbam is an image, and bimbam is also a disc. So the shape. So the lips are the oval shape, right? So it is the bimba. And there is also an interpretation that bimba means the tindora fruit, which is called as kovai param in Tamil. And it's usually found on the roadside, and the parrots eat that, and it's a deep red color. So it is also referred to that. But in this context, Nava Vidruma Bimbashri means a newly formed coral that is oval in shape. So, and it's very precise. If you look at coral, coral is found in many shapes. Actually, the most common form of coral is a triangle shape. So, what here they are referring to is a specific coral that is oval in shape. That's why Bimbashri. Nava Vidruma. And why specifically a new coral? Why can't it just be any coral? If you look at coral, it can come in many colors. But the red color coral is the precious coral. And even if the coral, when it is newly formed, it's always red. But as it gets exposed to sun, the coral starts losing its color and it gets to a orangish shade. So what they're saying here is that Lalita's lips are so red that a newly formed coral stone cannot match that. So that's what her lips are, that red. And that's why Nava Vidruma Bimbashri, a newly formed coral stone that nicely retains its red color, cannot stand in front of Lalita's lips. So Nyakkari is insulting. So her lips are an insult to a newly formed oval coral stone, is what that means. And again, this does not take away from the ruby's beauty or the coral's beauty. It is just given as a comparison for us to say Lalita's beauty far excels all of this, and also to instill the idea in us that she is a little bit beyond the things that we normally know. That's why they're pointing to a ruby, a coral. These are all things that the human mind can understand, has seen, can relate to. And what they're saying is whatever we are talking about here is far more than, because the essence of Lalita, who she is not something that is readily within the range of human experience. She is somebody who's beyond our mind, our words, and this whole process of this Lalita Sahasranama is trying to slowly take us in baby steps towards attaining that. That's why further down in Lalita Sahasranama we say she is Mano Vacha Ma Gochara. Gochara means range. She is not even in the range of things that we can think of with our mind or speak. Mano Vacha, with our words. She's not even in that range. She's beyond that. And by comparing to ruby and coral and bringing that comparison, they're trying to tell us she's far beyond all of this. So they're trying to instill that concept in us. Shuddha Vidya Ankurakara Dvija Pankti Dvayojvala. Shuddha Vidya, the direct translation for this is pure knowledge. We'll park this for a minute and come back. Ankurakara. Ankura means sprout. So when a seed is planted, the first shoot that comes out will always have two leaves. So that's what the Ankura means. Dvija. Dvija means tooth. Pankti. Pankti means row or line. Row. Dvayojvala. Dvaya means two. Ujvala means bright. She has 2 rows of teeth, shining bright teeth. She has 2 rows of bright teeth that are like the pure knowledge, which is kind of a very unique comparison, not something that we would have thought of. So let's explore the Shuddha Vidya. Why is teeth compared to the Shuddha Vidya? So in Advaita, it is said that everything is one ultimate reality. That one ultimate reality manifested into all the forms we see in the universe. And there is a process of creation. There is steps for that creation. So first, that one ultimate reality became 2 complementary aspects called Shiva and Shakti. And when that 2 complementary aspects were there as Shiva and Shakti, then there is further the next step. There were Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. So those happen, and then beyond this point, until this, it's called Shuddha Dhavan. It's a pure path. But beyond this point, the wheel of Maya came and played a role, and it made all the manifested forms forget that they are part of the ultimate reality. So the Shuddha Vidya is a stage where there is awareness that ultimate reality and us are one and the same. So there is the ultimate reality, there is the manifested form, and there is the knowledge that both are one and the same. Only after this point, the wheel of Maya comes in, where the manifested form forgets that it's one and the same. So that stage is called Shuddha Vidya. And in Sri Vidya, in order to get to that stage of, so if we realize that the ultimate reality and us are one and the same, we are a realized being at that point. And that is the idea of all of these paths. So in order to get to that path in Sri Vidya, there is a mantra called Sodashakshari. The Sodashakshari mantra has 16 syllables. So it is the ultimate mantra, and there is a process for it. People don't get to the Sodashakshari immediately. There is a Panchadasi mantra, and then we move to the Sodashakshari. And before even you get to Panchadasi, there are other mantras you have to. So it takes a lot of recitation, as well as only very few get eligible for the Sodashakshari. So that is the 16 syllable mantra. So the 16 times 2. So when somebody does that Sodashakshari mantra, which is the 16 syllable mantra, and they get to this path where they get to the stage where they realize that the ultimate reality and them are one and the same, they are as if they are twice born. So once born without realizing that ultimate reality and us are one and the same, and once you've realized, you've taken a new birth again. So that's like twice born. Dvija also means twice born. So the person gets to the twice born. So 16 times 2 equals 32. 32 is the number of our teeth. That's why the teeth are being compared to Shuddha Vidya Ankurakara. So that is the essence behind this. Karpura Viti Kamoda Samakarshat Digantara. Karpura Viti is the tambulam. Viti means betel leaves, and Karpura is camphor. And I think people are all familiar with it, right? In India, it's common to have betel leaves. They have the areca nuts in it, and they add, the candy, and then in some places there is also gulkand. There is the lime, slake lime that is added to it, and that is supposed to be something that's had by auspicious women, and they also give it to their husbands, and then it's supposed to be something that's also good for health. So the Karpura Viti Kamoda, with all the things that are added, Kamoda means fragrance. So with the fragrance, she's chewing this betel leaves with all of these fragrant stuff, and that fragrance is attracting the entire universe. Digantara means the entire universe. Samakarsha, it's drawing the entire universe towards her. The fragrance from her chewing the betel leaves is drawing the entire universe towards her. And she is that Shakti who is capable of drawing all of us towards her. She is Asesha Janamohini. Without exception, she draws one and all towards her. And the fragrance brings us all towards her. That is the meaning of these two shlokas. Thank you.